Right now, people here in West Michigan and all around the world are shaken by what appear to be random acts of violence by one man on a rampage.
Please hurry up. Somebody shot.
2 cars have been shot up. There's 3 people in 1 car, and 1 guy is not moving.
What it looks like is we have somebody just driving around, finding people, and shooting them dead in their tracks.
It started like any other Saturday night. A man behind the wheel, a city winding down, and an app glowing quietly in the dark. But something was wrong. Something was waiting behind those headlights. By the time the sun rose over Kalamazoo, Michigan, 6 lives would be gone. Over the course of just a few hours, an Uber driver turned the city into a hunting ground, striking at random with terrifying calm. And between the murders, he continued his pickup and drop-off of passengers. Kalamazoo is a small city nestled between Detroit and Chicago, a place where quiet evenings and familiar routines once offered a sense of safety. But what happened over the next 7 hours would plunge this peaceful community into chaos. 3 separate locations, 8 innocent victims, and no warning, no pattern, only death. Shortly after 4 p.m. on February 20th of 2016, Matt Mellon requested an Uber pickup to drive him over to a friend's house. He was picked up at 4:21 p.m. by a driver in a silver Chevy Equinox. During the drive, the driver received a call, and after finishing, he allegedly started crazy driving. At one point, he entered an oncoming lane of traffic, drove through a median strip, ignored a stop sign, and sideswiped a Ford Taurus, all while ignoring Mellon's pleas to stop. When the driver came to a stop at another stop sign, Mellon jumped out and called 911.
County emergency.
Hi, I'd like to report a crazy driver. I just got an Uber to my friend's house, and on the way there, he was driving neurotic down West Main. He hit a car. He drove through the woods, and I finally just jumped out.
Okay.
I got his license plate number when I jumped out of the car, and it was like a block from where my actual destination was, but I just had to get out of the car because I was scared. He was driving 50, 60 miles an hour. He hit a car. He drove through the median, and it was crazy.
Mellon was later interviewed by a media outlet where he gave more details about the scary ride. He said because the Uber driver had his dog in the back seat, he had to ride in the front passenger seat. The call the driver received during the ride was from the driver's son telling him that dinner was ready. His son asked if he would be coming home to eat. As soon as the driver hung up that call, he began the erratic driving Mellon described to the 911 operator. Mellon said after the collision with another vehicle, the driver denied he had hit the other car and continued on as if nothing had occurred. After multiple attempts to convince the driver to stop, Mellon was able to tumble out of the car when the vehicle finally came to a halt. There were multiple calls to 911 that day, including the driver of the vehicle that was hit by the Uber transport.
911.
Yeah, I was just driving down West Main, heading towards 131 from downtown. There was a man going roughly 70, 80 miles an hour, weaving in and out of both lanes of traffic. I mean, it was extremely erratic behavior.
What kind of car was it?
It was a gray SUV. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps a Ford. But
911.
I just got passed by a silver Traverse going southbound on Douglas, probably every bit of 100 miles an hour.
County 911.
Yes, I just witnessed a hit-and-run accident at the intersection of G Avenue and Gull Road.
Kalamazoo County 911.
Hello. I needed an officer to come out. I was just involved in an accident where a guy ran a red light and hit me in an intersection.
The first shots rang out at 5:42 p.m., an apartment complex on the city's northeast side. They hit in terror. The first victim was Tiana Carruthers, shot while shielding children at a playground. She was hit 4 times. Then silence.
Where did they shoot at?
County emergency.
Yeah, hello. I need a ambulance, police, at. Please hurry up. Somebody shot. Fire shots. She on the ground. I don't know if she hurt.
Okay, ma'am, give me the number again.
Don't move.
Okay, where's the person that shot her?
I don't know. The car sped off, please.
Okay, ma'am, we're going to get the people going there, okay? I just need you to stay on the phone so I can get further, okay?
Okay. Yep. Okay. I don't believe it's happening out here. Please don't move. Please don't move. They coming, okay? Please don't move. We got the kids. Please don't move. Just stay there. Okay, we'll get them. You just calm down. Don't move. We got them. Don't worry about it. Yeah, they was in the car. They sped off.
Do you see what kind of car?
Did anybody see what kind of car it was? Where you are. They saw it. They didn't know what kind. What color was it? It was a silver car. That's all we know. It sped off so fast.
Silver car? Okay.
I mean, it was like about 9 shots.
Okay, ma'am, still with me?
Yeah, I got a firefighter here right now.
Okay.
Tiana Carruthers was a 25-year-old mother and caregiver who found herself in the wrong place at the wrong time. That day, Carruthers was outside her townhome's parking lot, carrying her young daughter and watching other neighborhood children play, when a man driving a silver Chevrolet pulled up beside them. Mistaking her for someone else, he asked if she was a different woman. Upon her denial, he drove off only to double back towards her. Annoyed, Tiana asked what he was doing. The driver pulled a gun up and opened fire, unleashing approximately 15 rounds. Carruthers was struck 4 times, through her left arm, legs, back, and even her liver. And yet, despite her grievous injuries, she instinctively yelled for the children to run to safety and then played dead as the driver continued shooting. Miraculously, all the children with Tiana Carruthers escaped unharmed. That day marked the beginning of a long journey for her, months of surgeries and rehabilitation, altering her life forever. 2 hours later, another shooting, a car dealership, a father and son gunned down in the parking lot. No warning, no confrontation, just execution. Richard Smith, known as Rich to his close friends, was a jovial and loving 53-year-old father, and his son Tyler Smith, a vibrant and athletic 17-year-old high school soccer player. They set out together on what they expected to be a routine evening outing, looking at trucks after attending Tyler's girlfriend's mother's baby shower earlier that afternoon. After the shower, Tyler's father and he decided to visit the Sealy Ford Kia dealership so Tyler could explore a pickup truck he'd seen. As they walked through the lot, examining the vehicles and sharing a father-son moment, a man pulled into the dealership and, in a sudden surge of violence, opened fire on them at close range. Nearby, Tyler's girlfriend, Alexis Cornish, remained in the car, frozen in horror but miraculously unharmed, and later dialed 911 as chaos unfolded around her.
Kalamazoo County 911.
Hi, we just drove by the Kia. What road are we on? 94 Business. And a guy just shot some people in the parking lot.
Are you still near the scene?
Yeah, we're at the Burger King, a couple of places down. There's a car sitting in the lot. I can't tell. It's some kind of SUV.
All right. Did you hear shots fired? Is that?
Yeah, that's what made us look. And there were 2 guys laying on the ground and one guy pointing a gun at them.
All right.
Did you see who the person was that was shooting?
No, I just turned because we heard gunshots, and there was a man standing there pointing a gun at 2 people lying on the ground. We could see the smoke from his gun and hear it as we drove by, and we just pulled in. I don't know, we're probably 150 yards from them. There's an SUV still sitting in the parking lot.
Rich was struck 9 times and Tyler was hit 7 times. Both were killed instantly, shattering their family's world. Rich's wife, Lori, remembered him as the life of the party, a man full of warmth who loved his family dearly. Tyler mirrored his dad's outgoing nature, an energetic teen with a carefree spirit, beloved by those around him. And then, just before 10:30 p.m., a Cracker Barrel parking lot on the edge of town. 4 women, friends, mothers, grandmothers. The ladies gathered together for a warm and festive night out. Mary Jo, a veteran school teacher known for her love of card games and community events, had driven the group in her Chevrolet Cruze. Mary Lou, a former DMV employee celebrated for her impeccable baking, followed in her minivan. Dorothy, a devoted church volunteer and senior caregiver whose joyful spirit lit up any room, sat contentedly in the back seat. Barbara, affectionately called the hippie aunt by loved ones and cherished for her massive vinyl collection, shot one by one.
Kimsey County 911.
I'm at the Kalamazoo Cracker Barrel, and there's been gunshots in a car.
There's gunshots in a car?
Yes.
Okay, has anybody been hit?
2 cars have been shot up. There's 3 people in one car, and one guy is not moving. They're both in the parking lot.
They're both in the parking lot? What's the vehicle that fired the gun?
It's a blue HHR, dark blue, and it drove off right as we pulled up.
Oh, it's a blue HHR?
Yes.
Do you have a plate or anything? Which way did they go?
No, because right as we pulled up, he was pulling out, and he just took off out of the entrance. Okay, can I get an ambulance to this?
Get an ambulance.
Okay.
Get an ambulance. All right, are they breathing?
One is not. Are you guys all okay? One car is okay. The other one is a minivan, and the passenger is not moving.
Passenger's not moving?
No.
Where are you at right now?
I'm right behind both of the cars.
Both of the cars?
Yes.
Mary Jo Nye, 60. Her sister-in-law, Mary Lou Nye, 62. Dorothy Judy Brown, 74. And Barbara Hawthorne, 68. All shot at close range. And 14-year-old Abigail Kopf, shot in the head.
As first responders arrived on the scene, they could hardly believe what they were seeing. And then suddenly, a small glimmer of hope. 14-year-old Abby Kopf, who'd been out to dinner and a show with her grandma Barb and the other victims, had been shot in the head, but was alive.
Abby had been pronounced deceased, but as her parents discussed organ donations with the doctors, the young teen squeezed her mother's hand. As Abby clung to life and Tiana rushed into surgery, a major development in law enforcement's hunt for the perpetrator occurred. All during the rampage, the victims and witnesses got a flash glimpse at the driver behind the wheel, but the only helpful description they could give at the time was of the vehicle he was driving. Where did this stranger come from? What caused his rage? Why these victims? Later, police would find that there really was no answer that would make sense of this despicable tragedy. All the shootings were random, and the victims just happened to be in the driver's line of sight. It wasn't until the shooting had already begun that Kalamazoo police realized they were dealing with something far worse than a domestic dispute or a robbery gone wrong. They were hunting a man who had no motive, no history of violence, and no intention of stopping.
Hello?
Hi, my name's Caitlin. I'm with the police department. Did you just call in a hit and run G in Gulf Road?
Yes, I did.
Okay, were you involved?
Yes, I was involved.
You're involved. Okay, can you give me a really good description of the vehicle that hit you?
Silver Chevy Traverse or something, like a newer, that crossover kind of thing.
Okay.
I believe it was. I know it was silver, and I think it was like a Traverse. I know it was a crossover vehicle.
But a newer vehicle.
Yeah, it was within the last couple
Okay.
years, yeah.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Tammy. I'm calling from Public Safety. Did you call earlier about the Uber driver?
Yeah, he picked me up from my house.
Can you give me a description of him?
Black glasses, mid-40s, white male, kind of salt and pepper hair. I know he had facial hair. I can't remember if it was a beard or...
Was he overweight?
Yep, he had a black dog in his back seat. I have his name from Uber. His name it's Jason. But I have a picture of him on my phone from the confirmation email.
Oh, you do have a picture of him? Would you mind texting it to me?
I can do that, absolutely. And with the name he has listed there, I would assume it's his real name.
Okay.
Okay, I'll text you that right now.
Unbeknownst to Mellon, his concerns had already become a reality. After the driver fled the Kia dealership, he continued to pick up passengers.
Derek said they saw the man's mugshot on the news and realized they had gotten a ride from him.
And I said, "You're not the shooter, are you?" And he said no, and I said, "Are you sure?" And he just said, "No, I'm just tired. I've been driving for 7 hours."
Retired Under Sheriff Paul Matthews says he was on his way back home with his wife after a night out when he got the call. People were dying. There were shootings all over town. That's when he responded to the Cracker Barrel in Texas Township. And he says that was the start of what he calls a wild night.
Lieutenant Dale Hins from State Police was there, and he came right up to me right away, and he said, this is all going to be related to the shooting at Seeley's and to your shooting earlier in Richland Township.
From there, Matches says the search was on, and the more time passed, the more concerned he was other victims would surface.
And I remember we looked at each other, and I said, Dale, we've got to get this out to the public. We've got a guy going around just shooting people at random. But to have somebody just drive around randomly, gunning people down for no apparent reason, that just attacks the psyche of the community.
As several law enforcement officers began to process the different crime scenes, other patrols were in search of the man behind the wheel at the heart of these senseless attacks.
What we didn't know is, with the light of dawn, was that going to bring us more dead bodies? And we were very, very concerned.
At approximately 12:37 a.m., Sergeant Jim Harrison began tailing a black Chevy HHR.
Eastbound or westbound or north? Clear. Eastbound or north, good picture.
Driver, take your hands out the window! Keep your hands out where we can see them! Yep.
Clear on it, multiple cars, felony stop.
Student registration of DA2696, DA2696. I don't think this is going to be it. Sample.
Figure we got one in custody, one weapon off of him.
City's clear, one in custody, one weapon off of him.
619 kind of be headed that direction then.
Clear on it. City has one in custody, one weapon off of him. Figure out if I can get units to shut down Wallbridge, head north, and Pitcher north.
When they apprehended him, saw he was wearing a bulletproof vest and had a hot-to-the-touch weapon in the car, they knew they had their guy.
It's a real gun. It's pointed right towards Beth's face. Hot.
Yeah, it is.
Nice job, Colin.
Police have confirmed the identity of the suspect. They're telling us he is 45-year-old Jason Dalton of Kalamazoo. He's a 45-year-old white male.
As we're walking up, hands up, we're ordering them out. As we're coming up like this, I'm standing there holding cover. They're Kong and Miller are taking them out on that side. As they're taking them out, they take the gun and put it on top of the car. He never says a word to him. Where was the gun? His back waistband. Never said a word to him. Yeah. Fucking hands out the window, never said a fucking word to him. I don't know. 302. I was just going to say that there's a whole bunch of dead bodies now. We got to check all the fucking car lots. He came back and stopped at the fucking up and under. Or if he drove around. I don't know. just got stalled out for now. The grandma and the kids both had got transported both times.
Wait, 5 out there?
Yeah, they had 5.
They ended up in 5 out there?
5 out there. And then, I think this is Mahari. Mahari is the troop that's at the hospital. The grandma's okay. The little girl's not going to make it.
Jason Brian Dalton was an unremarkable man, an insurance adjuster married for over 20 years, and father of 2 children, ages 10 and 15. Dalton grew up in Indiana. His family moved to Kalamazoo when he was in high school. He had no criminal history in Indiana or Michigan. He had only been driving an Uber for 1 month and had a driver rating of 4.73 out of 5.
I believe we have live pictures from his home right now. It may be a bit dark there, but you should be able to make out some police cars. We're told that police are currently searching his home right now.
It's located in a rural area on Douglas and E Avenue West. This is northwest of Kalamazoo, and officers have been taking pictures inside of the home. And after being inside of the house for nearly 2 hours, officers have started canvassing the outside.
Authorities believe Dalton used 3 different handguns during the shootings, and they found other guns inside his messy home he shared with his wife and 2 children. In all, 15 guns were seized.
And as you heard at a news conference, they are looking for anything that might give them a better idea as to why Dalton would commit this terrible act of violence. Again, we know 8 people were shot, 6 of them are dead, and 2 people are injured. We do know, again, that he is in police custody, and officers say that multiple agencies are questioning him right now, trying to learn more information, maybe even a motive as to why all of this happened.
Law enforcement spent the following day interviewing Dalton. He told them he was controlled by the Uber app. Dalton said the app would not shut off and kept him awake for more than 24 hours at a time, and it would flash at him, quote, really hard. He continued to say that something had come into his car and made itself known by making a loud tone. He said it was like his vehicle kept talking to him, and it felt like he was on fire. Dalton said he felt compelled to accelerate his car. When he pulled up to the Meadows townhomes, he had his dog in the car. He said the app had told him to pick up someone named McKinney. When he saw Tiana Carruthers walking outside, he asked her if she was the person he was looking for. When she said no, he continued slowly driving through the complex looking for his fare. As he drove past Tiana that second time, she asked him what he was doing. He then shot out the window at Tiana, emptying his Glock 19 9mm. Dalton explained to law enforcement that he had no reason to fire at her, except for being annoyed when she asked him what he was doing. He said he knew he hit her because she was moaning. His gun then jammed. He cleared the jam and continued firing. After leaving the townhomes, Dalton calls his wife and tells her to meet him at his parents' house. His wife later told police that he was acting erratic and paranoid. When she asked about the damage to their car, he told her that he had been the target of angry cab drivers taking action against rideshare drivers. Dalton gave her a gun and told her not to go to work on Monday or to take the kids to school. He also said, when you watch the 11 o'clock news tonight, you'll know it was me. With the Silver Equinox now having front-end damage, Dalton needed to switch vehicles. Between 6 and 7 p.m., he leaves his parents' home driving their dark-colored Chevy HHR. It is fair to note that his parents were out of town during this time. He then stops by his home and switches guns before continuing on with his Uber fares. Just before 9 p.m., Dalton said he drove to the Sealy Auto dealership, where he saw 2 men looking at vehicles. He said his Uber app was telling him to look at a black BMW. When he tried to open the BMW and found it was locked, he turned to the father and son and shot them at least 14 times. He then left and picked up fares at a beer store and dropped them off without incident. But around 9:30, he drove to the Cracker Barrel restaurant. He got out of his car and walked up to Mary Lou Nye as she sat in a vehicle in the parking lot. He asked her if she could spare $1 to, quote, make America great again. When she said no, he shot her. Dalton said he would have left, but then he heard people screaming. He said the app was again telling him to shoot, and he said he remembered shooting a small person in the head. A young girl. Dalton then left the Cracker Barrel and returned to his home to pick up more ammo. Just before his arrest, Dalton would pick up one last fare. A group of 3 men, He said the app would ding at him twice. One ding indicating yes, and 2 dings meaning no. When one of the men jokingly asked, "Are you going to shoot me?" Dalton said his app dinged twice, indicating no. In a statement dictated to police, Dalton said he knows people will look at him like a monster. He asked for forgiveness for what he called the day. If you would like to listen to Dalton's entire confession report to law enforcement and the 911 calls in full, we have placed them on a separate video, which we will link in the description at the end of this documentary. During the investigation, more information was uncovered about Dalton's personal life struggles just prior to his rampage. While law enforcement interviewed Carol Dalton, the wife of the attacker, they learned the couple had just separated that same day, hours before his rampage. 6 days after the rampage, Carol Dalton filed for divorce. Her divorce filing stated, "There has been a breakdown in the marriage relationship to the extent the objects of matrimony have been destroyed, and there remains no reasonable likelihood that the marriage can be preserved."
Calls the case of State of Michigan versus Jason Brian Dalton.
On February 22, 2016, Dalton was arraigned on 16 charges, including 6 counts of murder, 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder, and 8 counts of using a firearm during the commission of a felony. His rampage of terror, which lasted over 6 hours, would have many back-and-forth arguments in court before a trial date was set for almost 3 years later, in January of 2019. After undergoing a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation, Dalton was found competent to stand trial. Dalton then appeared on May 20th for a preliminary hearing to determine if there was enough evidence to try him on the charges. During the hearing, Dalton made a verbal outburst and motions towards Tiana Carruthers, the first victim attacked in the shootings.
A couple minutes go by and we don't even make it to the park almost. We're like right there by the sidewalk, and I seen him coming, and I saw it, the gun.
Intimidator cars. No, they gave bags. These old people, they had these old black bags. They're called they're black. They're black bags, and people drive around and you look at them. It gets real like, hey, it's time people look, and then that's when to tell people it's time to get to Temple.
You need to listen to your attorney, right?
Yeah, you need to get to Temple because you need to get going because it's called intimidator bags.
You need to be quiet in today's proceedings, okay?
Yeah.
If you have anything to say, you whisper to your attorney. That's today's rules, okay? Okay.
So, Ms. Carruthers, are you okay? Or do we need to take a minute?
Take it.
All right, we're going to call a recess.
Take it.
If you would escort your down into holding.
We're here, honey. You're okay. You're okay.
While awaiting trial, Dalton had several phone conversations with his mother. He never showed any remorse for his victims, only towards his family and himself.
This is a call from
Jason Dalton. I'm very sorry for all the trouble that I've caused. I just wanted you to know that they won't allow me to respectfully bow out or take anything. They want to have a trial no matter what with live coverage. I just wanted you to know that it's not driven by me. It's not driven by my defense attorney. It's they simply, it seems to be something between the judge and the prosecutor that they're wanting to go forward with it, and they find a thing allowing it to be filmed like the OJ trial. Why don't we just get a red and white circus tent and put it up in front of the courthouse and get a couple rings and let me be a dancing monkey for everybody, because that's exactly the way I feel about it.
In one conversation, he did come close to talking about the question that everyone once answered. Why? But he quickly backs away.
It's over. I stopped it.
In those calls, he also stated that he was getting tired of sitting in the Kalamazoo County Jail, and he was looking forward to going to prison. Just prior to the start of trial, Dalton pleaded guilty to all counts against him.
You understand that if you enter a guilty plea, you will be waiving or giving up many of these rights because we won't be going to trial.
Yes, that's what Mr. Schlise explained to me.
Okay. You're doing this voluntarily of your own free will.
Yes, I've wanted this for quite a while.
Count one, that you did murder Mary Lou Nye. As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
That you did, in fact, murder one Mary Jo Nye.
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit a murder of one Barbara Hawthorne?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit a murder of one Dorothy Brown?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit the offense of murder upon Richard Smith?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, murder Tyler Smith?
Guilty.
On that day and date in the county of Kalamazoo, did you make an assault upon A.K., a minor child, with the intent to commit the crime of murder? Did you, in fact, make an assault upon Tierra Carruthers with the intent to commit the crime of murder contrary to Michigan law?
Guilty.
Punishment of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. You understand that?
Yes.
It's over. I stopped this circus train. I didn't want to agree to being premeditated, because that day, I did not set out that day to premeditate to do anything like that at all.
On February 5th, 2019, Dalton was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Welcome.
I've lost the woman I've married for 41 years, and I lost my little sister.
That night when he shot and killed my aunt, he killed a person who would have listened to his story and welcomed him. Such was her love and acceptance.
And two of those beautiful souls, Judy and Mary Jo, were very, very dear people. And Abby, that beautiful child, her life was just beginning.
In my opinion, the guilty has no remorse, and there is no and never will be redemption for him.
In December of 2016, I got married. And the fairy tale I had dreamed about since I was a little girl was a heartbreaking day that we desperately tried to make happy. I walked down the aisle alone, holding a box with my brother and my dad's ashes in it. And a piece of my dad's shirt was sewn on my dress, and I placed a rose in a stand where my brother should have stood. I sat broken as the daddy-daughter dance played to the song that I planned to dance with my dad. Remembering back when I was 12 years old, and I played my dad the song, and he cried, saying how much he loved it. Richard was my husband, and Tyler was my son.
2 years, 11 months, and 5 days, I've tried to hate you. I suspect that your whole life you were a nothing, a little man with little to offer the world. And having a weapon in your hand that night, gunning down innocent people, somehow made you feel big and powerful and strong.
We've waited nearly 3 years of difficult delays for this evil murderer to be brought to justice. Each delay of the trial has reopened the wounds for myself and all of the families.
You'll never get to see your children grow up outside of prison. You messed up your children's lives too. They will grow up without a dad, if they still call you that, behind bars, knowing that a monster murdered 6 innocent people, and injured 2 innocent people.
He was a loving, caring, thoughtful, and intelligent man who would do anything for anyone. He was a friend to everyone.
He is lucky he still exists on this earth. My mother doesn't. She never will again.
I and all of the individuals and families whose lives you have shattered are at least pleased to know that you will never walk free again.
I can't understand how or why you could do this to all these innocent people. Were you mad? What were you thinking as you repeatedly shot and killed my family? What made you decide that I didn't need a brother or a dad?
My son was loving, caring, funny, smart, and thoughtful. He too was a friend to everyone, including me. I could not have been more proud of him and the respectful young man that he was. He was and is my precious baby boy. You tried to kill us all. You failed. I will forever be Tyler Strong, Smith Strong, and forever strong.
1,080 days since he terrorized this entire community. 1,080 days in jail is barely a down payment for the damage that you've caused. You're 48 years old. By my count, you're going to live somewhere between 25 and 30 years likely. Another 10,000 days. 10,000 days in a Michigan prison where I hope that every morning you wake up seeing the faces of those you've killed and injured. Where when you lay down at night, I hope the last thought is the damage that you've done to this community, to those families, to your own. Today, you'll be taken downstairs to the basement of this building, placed in shackles, put in a van, and driven away from Kalamazoo. And I hope you'll never, ever return.
Dalton, you may stand. It's a court sentence that you, Jason Brian Dalton, be remanded to the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections and be sentenced to a period of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
In a public statement, Joe Sullivan, Uber's chief security officer, said, "We are horrified and heartbroken at the senseless violence in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We have reached out to the police to help with their investigation in any way that we can." A crisis management expert said Uber had a proper response in the aftermath of the Kalamazoo shootings. The valuable ride-hailing startup was smart to quickly address that Jason Dalton passed his background check. He added that Uber should also be transparent about the details of how it vets drivers. However, Uber received an abundance of scrutiny regarding their driving vetting program. Uber has a thorough explanation of its background checks on its website, which basically shifts the responsibility back to the passengers. It also helped Uber that Dalton had no criminal background and had shown no signs of distress prior to that day.
Well, 5 years after Jason Dalton's murderous rampage here in Kalamazoo, a man who was spared that day is demanding accountability from the rideshare service Dalton worked for in a civil lawsuit.
Mellon believes Uber could have done something to stop him, which is why the rideshare service is the target of a now federal civil lawsuit. Mellon dialed 911 after the wild ride and tried to call, connect, and reach Uber's incident response team directly for more than an hour. The suit says Uber's incident response team is on call 24/7, and actions that threaten the safety of riders will be investigated and, if confirmed, lead to permanent deactivation of the account. Documents say Mellon could not reach Uber to report and ensure that dangerous, deadly criminal drivers like Dalton and driving were deactivated timely, immediately, which Mellon's lawyers argue is a violation under Michigan's Consumer Protection Act.
As a result, Mellon says he was severely traumatized, suffering mental distress disorder and survivor's guilt. Uber argues that statutes of limitations on Mellon's claims passed years ago, in that he has no case. As of the upload of this video, no court date had been set for the lawsuit. Abby returned to school and has shown tremendous progress in her recovery. Although Tiana has had several surgeries, there could still be more surgeries, treatments, and rehabilitation to come. Carruthers started a program called Shiro with a Message. She travels to speak about her survival story and recovery, hoping to encourage others about overcoming obstacles. The young mother says she is not a victim. She is a survivor. As for Kalamazoo, it will never be the same. The Meadows community, the Kia dealership, and the Cracker Barrel will always be a reminder of the lives lost that night. 6 families forever broken, a community forced to rebuild, and a warning still echoing nearly a decade later about the silent risks of modern convenience. We live in a world where strangers drive us home, where trust is built on apps and ratings, but sometimes the danger doesn't look like danger, and the monster doesn't look like a monster, until it's too late.
We will remember the ones that we've lost. We will tell their stories and teach the ones that didn't know what happened at the time, were too young, or have come since, of the greatness that was. Everybody that was there.
This video contains graphic descriptions of Jason Dalton's rampage on the Kalamazoo, Michigan community in February of 2016. Although we do not include any images, viewers will find the discussion of Dalton's actions very disturbing. Therefore, listener discretion is advised. This transcript reading is Chapter 2, Video 2 of this case. Please make sure you watch the documentary first so you can have a better understanding of this transcript. Jason Brian Dalton is serving life in prison at Oaks Correctional Facility in Michigan. The following is the transcript of his interview with Michigan police the same day he was taken into custody. Michigan Police, 5th District Headquarters Supplemental Incident Report by Sergeant Kyle Gorham. Arrested suspect, Jason Brian Dalton. On February 21st, 2016, at approximately 0900 hours, I was contacted by Lieutenant Charles Christensen via text and was advised of the nature of this complaint. Lieutenant Christensen asked that I assist with this matter by conducting an interview with the suspect, Jason Dalton. Lieutenant Christensen asked that I be at the 5th District Headquarters for a briefing at noon on this same date. At approximately noon, I spoke with Lieutenant Christensen as well as Sergeant Paul Gagnon about this matter. I obtained information from both of these individuals in reference to the suspect in this matter, Jason Dalton. I obtained a polygraph background information form and a polygraph waiver form, which contains the Miranda warnings and waiver. I utilized both of these forms for the purpose of this interview. I then proceeded to the Kalamazoo County Sheriff Department, and the interview with Jason Dalton was conducted at this location in the booking area interview room. Upon making contact with Jason Dalton, I introduced myself to him. We had some general conversation, and then Jason asked if I was his attorney. I advised Jason of my position with the Michigan State Police and advised him I was there to speak with him in regards to this matter. Jason and I were both seated in the interview room where this interview was being conducted. Jason advised he thought he should speak with an attorney regarding this matter. I advised Jason that I had a Miranda warning and waiver form that I would like to read to him, and upon the completion of me reading this to him, that he could let me know what he wished to do regarding speaking to me, and I provided him with his Miranda warnings and waiver. On February 21st, 2016 at 2:34 p.m., I read Jason Dalton his Miranda warnings from the FSD 28 form. It should be noted that this is a polygraph waiver form that is utilized by the Forensic Science Division Polygraph Unit. Therefore, it contains the rights for polygraph rights and an acknowledgement section, which were both crossed off by myself before the Miranda warnings were read to Jason Dalton. The section which was read to Jason was circled by myself in front of him, and I then read him the rights that were contained within the circle, that being Jason's Miranda warnings and waiver. Upon reading Jason his rights, I asked Jason if he fully understood his rights, and asked him to verbally acknowledge yes or no. Jason advised he understood all his rights by stating yes. He also provided an explanation what that right meant to him so that I could verify with him that indeed he understood the Miranda warnings. Upon reading the waiver to Jason, I read Jason the waiver, which was number 2, asking Jason, "Are you willing to give up these rights and answer my questions at this time?" And Jason answered with a no, indicating he was not willing to speak with me. At this time, I advised Jason that this was no problem. I placed the form down and I continued to speak with Jason. I had offered Jason a Coca-Cola upon my arrival, which I also had. I asked Jason if he would mind if I sat and simply talked to him. However, I advised him I did not wish to speak to him about the situation. He advised he had no problem with that. We sat and spoke about his dog, his college education, and the fact that he and I both went to Kalamazoo Valley and attended the criminal justice program approximately 1 year apart. He also provided me with some information in reference to guns, and we talked about guns and the types of gun that we both utilized in the criminal justice program. It was during this time that Jason advised me that he liked German guns. Jason advised this was one of the weapons that he used in this incident, a Walter P. 99 9mm. During the course of our conversation, Jason asked me what type of questions I wanted to ask him. I explained to Jason that I had a boatload of questions about this incident that I wanted to speak with him about. He acknowledged this and stated he understood. I explained to Jason that my questions were to help people understand who were not involved in this situation, and I explained to Jason at this time that I wished that I had met Jason 24 hours before this incident occurred. I expressed to Jason that I felt bad for him, as well as the other individuals involved in this situation, and Jason advised me he felt bad for the victims as well. I explained to Jason that initially, he advised that he did not want to talk to me, and at this time, Jason advised me that he did wish to speak with me. I told Jason I needed to make a phone call to make sure it was okay that I speak with him, and Jason specifically asked that I do that for him. I advised Jason that I would appreciate it if we could sit and talk, and Jason advised he would like that very much as well. Jason also advised that he has made a lot of mistakes along the way, and that he trusted me at that time. At 3:05 p.m., I again advised Jason of his Miranda warnings for the second time. I did not ask Jason to explain the Miranda warnings back to me, and only asked if he understood his rights or not, which Jason advised he did understand all of his rights. Upon reading him his waiver, Jason advised he would waive his Miranda warnings and speak with me about this incident. I asked Jason to sign the FSD 28 form, acknowledging he fully understood his Miranda warnings and was willing to speak with me. Jason signed and dated the form with the present time of February 21st, 2016 at 3:06 p.m. I also signed the FSD 28 with the same date. At this time, I completed the FSD 3 form with Jason, which is the polygraph background information form. This has a list of medical questions as well as education questions, family history, military, and employment questions. It was during the completion of this form that Jason advised he had not been sleeping well, and he does not believe he had any sleep within the last 24 hours, but he was not exactly sure. He stated he has not gone to a sleep study recently and can't really understand why he was not sleeping. Jason explained to me that this has never happened to him until just recently. Upon the completion of the FSD 3 in the employment section, it was during this time that Jason advised he had become involved in the Uber transportation service. Jason advised he did this because it supplemented his income, as well as the fact that he drove great distances for his regular employment, and it sort of paid for his driving on the way back home from appointments that were a distance away. Jason advised he just recently joined up with Uber approximately the Tuesday prior to this date. Jason explained that he set up his own Uber account utilizing his own phone. Jason explained to me that he became involved with Uber to basically supplement his income so that the Uber money would be his spending money. Jason explained the Uber application was on his telephone, and he stated that the Uber application would ask him if he was online. Jason advised he has had the Uber application on since what he believed was either Thursday or Friday night. Jason advised that Uber wouldn't let him shut down. Jason advised this application is on his iPhone and is with him all the time. Jason advised the Uber application would always ask him if he was online. Jason advised he knew that you could log off. Jason explained to me that the Uber application, when you were online, was showing you were available to take calls for business. Jason stated it was okay for him to leave the Uber application on because it would find destinations for him. Jason advised when the Uber application really wanted him to take a call, the Uber application would beep multiple times. Jason advised that if he didn't take the call, the application would flash at him really hard, causing a flash on his phone. Jason advised this is what has caused his sleeping issue. Jason advised it kind of felt like the application wouldn't let him shut down. At this point, I asked Jason to walk me through the situation. I asked Jason what was happening at this time. Jason asked me if he was okay to talk about what happened, and I advised him that he was. Jason advised he received a message to plug in an auxiliary cable into his car, along with a power source for his phone and a Bluetooth. Jason stated he was unfamiliar with how the Bluetooth worked. He stated he didn't know he could make phone calls from inside his car with the Bluetooth. Jason explained to me earlier in this interview that there was a class put on by Uber that he did not take, and he was self-taught in regards to how to perform the duties with Uber. Jason said he was asked to take an assignment, so he went out and got into his vehicle and explained that he began to drive, and drove extremely fast. He advised something had come into his car. Jason explained that this thing came into the car and displayed this by giving a loud audio tone. Jason advised he felt like he was on fire, and he explained that he felt like he was accelerating. Jason explained that over the PA, that the car would advise him in 3.1 miles, prepare to turn left now. And Jason was raising his voice as he was indicating the car PA system is telling him to turn left. Jason indicated with his hands that he made a left-hand turn and advised that the braking system in the car would start to automatically brake the vehicle as he was also applying the brakes of the vehicle. Jason advised he was driving a Chevy Equinox at this time. He stated he arrived at the Radisson and picked up a gentleman wearing a black coat. Jason advised this didn't occur all the time, but that the phone would do little blinks at him. Jason advised he didn't understand what that signified. Jason said he believes that 1 ding means yes and 2 dings mean no in terms of what it wanted you to do. Jason advised it would light up on the pin, advising that it wanted you at that pin location. This was an indication of where it wanted you to go. Jason advised he took 3 people home with the voom sound that was being made by the car. He described it as a hissing sound inside the car. Jason advised that things began to get really weird. Jason stated there were some symbols that popped up on the application that asked him to join. Jason advised he looked at the symbols and he agreed to join. Jason advised he didn't understand what he was supposed to do by agreeing to the application at this time. Jason stated the application asked him to agree to an XL, and he described this as being a bigger vehicle to transport people. Jason went on to advise that this is what was really weird and this is what freaked him out. Jason asked for forgiveness for what he refers to as the day, because he has been in jail so long he doesn't recall what exact day everything occurred. Jason advised he wasn't clear on exactly when he did everything that he did. Jason stated that he received a notice indicating it by 3 loud beeps. Jason advised he took the call. Jason advised when he did this, he was at the dog park and that his dog was minding better than normal. Jason advised he received 4 beeps, so he ran to get into his car and his dog came with him. Jason advised he started the car and then drove as fast as he could go up toward the campus. Jason advised the application had him stop, and he described a black girl that came out to his car and she saw the dog, so she refused the ride. The application then provided him with another individual over by Kalamazoo College, a male subject that he had to pick up. Jason advised the black female didn't want to get in the car because of the dog, and that incident happened on Circle Drive. Jason stated he went down toward the student section and picked up a male that had on an Under Armour shirt. Jason advised his son called him on his telephone, and he told his son that he would have to call him back. Jason advised a few minutes later this sensation came over his body. He stated it didn't come over the PA system this time, however it came into his body, which caused him to accelerate his vehicle. Jason advised he went around a corner and hit a car. He advised the passenger he had picked up for Uber was still in his vehicle, and he was going nuts. Jason said the individual was telling him to stop the car. Jason advised in a higher-pitched voice, "Don't you like the ride, sir?" Jason advised he accelerated and was driving into oncoming traffic, going even into the slow lane of traffic, zigzagging through traffic where he was driving over sidewalks and unable to make turns. He advised the passenger was telling him to let him out of the car. Jason stated he kept asking the individual in a high-pitched voice, "Is this your destination? Is this your destination, sir?" He stated the guy was using a crying voice, advising that he wanted to be let out of the car. Jason advised he continued driving at a high rate of speed where he made some quick turns, and then the vehicle came to a stop. The passenger jumped out of the car at this point. Jason stated he then said to the subject who had exited the car in a high voice, "You got to your destination, sir." And then he took off as fast as he could go. He advised it was like the vehicle was just taking him. Jason advised at this point in time, he drove at a high rate of speed to his house and parked in the back driveway behind the house and between a shed, which he never does. Jason advised he didn't even know how the car fit in this little location next to his shed. Jason advised the feeling overcame his body again, and at this point, he went inside his house, drank a glass of water, and then went into his basement and began preparing his guns. He stated he was putting all his guns together and filling up the magazines. He advised it was scary. He stated it was like it wasn't even himself, like it was an altered reality. Jason said he had placed several guns into a black carrying bag. Jason advised he got into his Equinox vehicle again with his dog, and the Uber application was asking him to take another assignment. Jason advised he went to this destination, which is an apartment complex, where he then made a phone call through the Uber application, looking for someone by the name of McKinney. Jason advised he went by a black woman and asked the black woman if she was McKinney. She advised she was not. Jason advised the black female, then asked him why he was asking. He advised this woman he was an Uber driver. Jason advised he drove off, and then he indicated with his hand that he withdrew a weapon from a holster on his right side. He stated he withdrew his Glock and indicated by both noise and hand gestures that he then racked the slide back on the Glock. Jason stated he then drove around back to the woman again and asked her if she was McKinney again, and she advised no. Jason said he would normally aim when he shoots, but it was just like something had him. He said he pointed the gun, indicating across his body, with his right hand crossing over his left hand, like he was shooting out of the window of a vehicle. He stated he just pointed the gun at this woman and began pulling the trigger, indicating this by a finger gesture as well as the noise of pop, 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 pop. He advised he dumped the entire magazine. Jason advised he believes this occurred in the Gull Meadows apartments up off of Gull Road. He advised he then took off again and was heading toward his mom and dad's house off of Redacted. Jason said he blew the stoplight and caused another accident with this same Equinox. Jason said it was weird because this hadn't caused any major damage to the vehicle, so he kept going after the accident. Jason explained he was still aware of this high-pitched whining and feeling it through his body. Jason also talked about a smell that he could smell. Jason stated he drove to his parents' house and pulled into their garage. Jason then advised that he knew he had killed that woman. I asked Jason how he knew he killed her, and he stated, "How could you survive that many gunshots?" Jason advised he shot the woman with a Glock 19 9mm. Jason went on to advise that when he was shooting the black female at the apartment complex, that the gun had jammed and he cleared the jam. Jason advised the extractor on the Glock became bent, and he believes someone bent the extractor. Jason stated he was able to take a couple of dogs and straighten the extractor out so that it would work properly on the Glock. Jason said when he got to his parents' house, his wife and children were there. He stated he knew he had spoken to his wife, however, he doesn't recall what he had said to her. He described that his wife looked at him and noticed his eyes were different. Jason advised that whatever he said was probably really bizarre. Jason advised he ran upstairs in his parents' house and grabbed his dad's gun and gave it to his wife. He advised his wife was freaking out. He described this gun as a Taurus PT 92 9mm. Jason advised he told the kids and his wife to stay in the house. Jason stated he picked up his guns from his Equinox and placed them in his Hummer H3 that was at his parents' house. However, this vehicle wouldn't start, so then he placed the guns into his wife's HHR vehicle. Jason advised he left in this vehicle, and upon doing so, he realized he had forgotten his power cord for his cell phone, so he stopped at the Phillips 66 gas station on Barney and Ravine Streets. Jason advised he purchased a power cord there, and upon plugging this in, it indicated it was not an Apple cord. Jason stated at this time it sort of switched to where the vehicle was driving him in the HHR. Jason advised he picked up a few people for his Uber accounts and dropped them off. Jason said he then drove over to Sealy Wright Ford. He advised there were a couple of black cars that were circling him, and he also advised that it was telling him to look at the black BMW. Jason advised he got out of his car, and instead of looking at the black BMW, he shot a couple of people. Jason described these individuals as looking at a blue truck. Jason stated he shot both individuals and then ran back to the black BMW and tried to open the door to the BMW, and then he ran back to his car. Jason said he got into his car and drove over to the Fairfield area because he had accepted another Uber account. Jason described these passengers as having a eucalyptus smell, and he dropped these individuals off at the beer exchange. Jason advised they wouldn't allow him to do the fare, therefore he had to drive back to the location where he came from to get the mileage. Jason stated that when he went back, he began staring at these white cars. Jason advised he got out of his vehicle and approached a lady in a white van. Jason advised he walked up to the lady and asked her if she could spare $1 to make America great again. The woman advised Jason that she didn't have the $1 to spend. Jason stated he shot the woman at this time. Jason said this was at the Cracker Barrel. Jason advised he was going to run away, but then he heard people scream. Jason advised he shot the people in the car, and he said it was like it was telling him where to shoot. Jason stated he remembers shooting a small person in the head. I asked Jason what he meant by a small person. Jason said in a soft voice, "A young girl." Jason advised that after he shot these individuals, he got back in his car and left the scene. Upon leaving the Cracker Barrel parking lot, he indicated there were 2 white vans that pulled in. Jason advised that he went back to work for Uber at this time and picked up some guys. He advised these guys were mocking him, advising that there was some guy on a killing spree driving a blue HHR. Jason advised he transported these male subjects to the Up and Under, where he dropped them off. Jason said in his mind he heard one of these guys say, "Does he have a gun?" And Jason advised that it went beep. And then he thought he heard the guy say, "Are you going to shoot me?" And then it went beep, beep. Jason advised the guys, then got out, and he pulled around and was stopped by a sheriff deputy. Jason advised that when he got pulled over, he indicated he reached back toward his right side to reach for his gun, and his phone began to beep, so he reached over and shut his phone off. That is why he is at where he is at this point in time. I then clarified some information with Jason. I asked Jason where he used the Glock and what situation he used the Glock in. Jason advised the Glock was only used at Gull Meadows, and he switched to the Walther because of the extraction issue with the Glock. Jason advised the Walther was used in the other 2 shootings on this evening. I asked Jason if he normally carried a firearm while he is working. He advised he does not, and that he does not even possess a CCW permit. Jason stated he doesn't ever see a need to carry a gun. I asked Jason which incident was the first incident. He advised it was the one at the Gull Meadows apartments. I asked Jason if this woman did anything to provoke him at all in reference to shooting her. Jason replied that it did seem like she said something like, "Why do you keep asking me that?" And he advised it didn't seem like it would have mattered. Jason advised that when he spoke to his woman, he was sitting in the driver's seat of his vehicle, which was the Equinox at this time. Jason stated he shot this woman multiple times. I asked Jason if he knew for sure that he hit this woman. Jason advised he knew he hit her because she dropped and he heard her moan. I asked Jason if he ever thought about stopping and helping her. Jason stated it just had a hold of him. Jason advised it wasn't until after everything was completely over that he ever thought about helping. I asked Jason when was it all over, and he advised it was over when he got arrested. Jason stated that is when he came to reality. At this time, I revisited the entire situation with Jason. Jason advised that when this incident began, he had gone to his house and his wife and children were not there. He acquired several guns that he placed into a bag. He described the bag as a type of shoulder bag, and he proceeded back into his Equinox. Jason said he was involved in a hit-and-run accident with an Uber passenger in his vehicle who exited his vehicle upon him stopping, and he was then involved in the shooting of a black female with a Glock handgun at an apartment complex. After the shooting of the black female, Jason said he proceeded to his mother and father's house, Comstock area, where he pulled his vehicle into their garage. Jason said he did this initially to look at the vehicle. I asked Jason if he thought the police would be looking for his vehicle, and he advised he did. Jason said he didn't want the police to see his car sitting in front of his parents' house, and that is why he put the vehicle in the garage. Jason advised he had told his wife that he had been involved in an accident, and Jason said she had seen the damage on the car. Jason advised he went inside his parents' house and retrieved his father's gun and handed it to his wife. Jason said his wife asked him what this was all about, and Jason said he couldn't recall what he said to her. I asked Jason if he had any conversation with his wife pertaining to the news, and he advised he did not remember. I asked Jason if she asked where he was going or if he told her where he was going, and again Jason said he did not recall. Jason stated he then left his parents' house in the HHR. Jason advised he had fixed the extractor on the Glock. I asked Jason when this occurred, and he advised he could not recall. I asked Jason what he did with the Glock, and he advised he left the Glock at his house. He said the Glock had a pancake-style holster. He advised all of his guns do not have holsters, but that particular one does. Once Jason began to carry the Walther, he said he carried it inside his coat pocket. He described his coat as being a longer coat, black in color. Jason advised he went back to work for Uber. I asked Jason if he was worried about the police at any moment during this time, and he said he was not. Jason advised that when he left his parents' house, he was by himself and no one else was in the vehicle. Jason stated he proceeded to do some Uber account work, and then he proceeded to the Seeley Wright automotive dealership. He said there was a man and a boy, describing the boy as Caucasian and approximately 16 to 18 years of age, at the dealership. He stated he initially walked up to the man, and the man said hello. He said he raised his gun up and shot the older man, and the man fell to the ground, and he then shot the boy, and the boy fell to the ground. Jason stated he then emptied the magazine out on the individuals as he continued to shoot both individuals as they were lying on the ground. He advised both subjects were moaning as they were lying on the ground. Jason advised both subjects were standing by a truck, possibly a blue Ford. Jason said he reloaded his Walther P99 with a fresh magazine that contained another 20 bullets. Jason advised he went back to work and did some further Uber work and ended up at the Cracker Barrel off of 9th Street. Jason stated that he had an issue with the fare upon transporting the individuals down to the beer exchange, so therefore he had to drive back to the point where he picked them up at in order to get the mileage. Upon doing this is when he approached the white van and shot the woman inside the white van. He then heard screams, so he went and shot the people in the burgundy car. Jason described the distance when he was shooting the people in the burgundy car being approximately 4 to 5 feet, and demonstrated this as the distance between himself and myself while we were speaking. Jason described how exactly the shooting of the burgundy vehicle had taken place. Jason stated he walked over to the driver's side of the vehicle, shot the driver and rear seat passenger, and then he walked over to the passenger side of the vehicle and shot both the front seat and the rear seat passengers inside the vehicle. He advised he shot the individuals numerous times. I asked Jason if he had any additional ammunition with him, and he stated he had a box of ammunition with him. I asked him what type of ammunition he uses, and he advised he generally uses ball-type ammo. However, he said there may have been some hollow point ammo mixed in with it. He described it as being Winchester ammunition. At some point in time, Jason advised he ended up going back to his residence and obtaining more ammunition and reloading another magazine for his Walther handgun. Jason talked about his family members that were involved in law enforcement. Jason said his son was involved with the Explorers program that was put on by the Kalamazoo County Sheriff Department. I asked Jason how he had acquired the bulletproof vest he was wearing on this evening, and Jason said this vest was his son's Explorer vests. I asked Jason if he had ever worn this bulletproof vest before, and Jason said that he had not. I asked Jason how he was wearing this vest, and Jason said he had it on under his clothing. At the completion of this interview, I asked Jason how he felt about this situation. Jason stated he felt that people are going to look at him like he is a monster. Jason stated he understood how people would look at him like this. Jason advised he was remorseful about the situation and saddened. Jason advised there were no words he could say that could ever bring closure to any of the families of the victims. I asked Jason if he wanted to make a written statement in regards to this situation so he could let the families of the victims understand him and his situation. Jason stated he did. However, Jason had advised me earlier that he was, and Jason asked that I write the statement out for him. I explained to Jason how I would write out a summary of his statement, and he would be able to answer each statement an initial catch statement. It should be noted that a 4-page written statement was provided by Jason in reference to this incident. Jason signed all 4 pages at the top and signed the last page on the bottom. At the conclusion of the interview with Jason, he thanked me for speaking with him. As I walked out of the interview room, Jason walked a few feet behind me. Jason again thanked me for talking to him as I departed the interview room.
The trial of the people versus Jason Dalton. Court has been informed that there has been a resolution in this matter. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, Your Honor. We'd ask the court to place it on the record here today.
Yes, Judge.
Your Honor, there is no sentencing agreement in that Mr. Dalton will be pleading to all counts against him. Those due, as the court knows, comes with a mandatory sentence. However, I believe there's some things Mr. Solis might want to say about the reason.
Well, Judge, today I want the record to reflect that discussions of plea offers have been going on between my client and I for months since this case has been pending, and I spent an hour and a half with my client, Mr. Dalton, this past weekend. And I've discussed the pros and cons of any potential plea, especially as charged. That's what's being done today. He understands those consequences. He is doing that against my advice.
Mr. Dalton, if you would stand. First of all, is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Okay. Is that your understanding?
Yes, it is.
If you would come forward, hopefully there's a microphone here. I'm going to show you a document entitled Advice of Rights. Have you seen this before?
Yeah, I've read that earlier today.
Okay. Is that your signature at the bottom of the page?
Yes, both of them are.
You understand that if you enter a guilty plea, you will be waiving or giving up many of these rights because we won't be going to trial.
Yes, that's what Mr. Solis explained to me.
Okay. Has anyone threatened you to get you to enter a plea today?
No.
Besides what's been put forth on the record, has anyone promised you anything to get you to enter a plea?
No.
Okay. You're doing this voluntarily of your own free will?
Yes, I've wanted this for quite a while.
Okay. You understand that if you change your mind or say that you didn't want to enter a plea, the testimony you're giving right now can be used to support the fact that the plea is voluntary at this time. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Are counsel aware of any threats or inducements to the defendant to have him tender a plea at this time?
No, sir. No, Your Honor.
I'm aware of none, Judge.
Okay. Count one, that you did murder Mary Lou Nye. As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
That you did, in fact, murder one Mary Jo Nye, contrary to Michigan law. As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit a murder of one Barbara Hawthorne? As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit a murder of one Dorothy Brown, contrary to Michigan law? As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, commit the offense of murder upon Richard Smith, contrary to Michigan law? That would be a felony punishable by life in prison. As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Did you, in fact, murder Tyler Smith? As to that count, how do you plead?
Guilty.
On that day and date in the county of Kalamazoo, did you make an assault upon A.K., a minor child, with the intent to commit the crime of murder, contrary to Michigan law? On that same day and date in Kalamazoo County, did you, in fact, make an assault upon Tierra Carruthers with the intent to commit the crime of murder, contrary to Michigan law? As to that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Make one clarification for the record and to make sure we confirm Mr. Dalton's understanding. With regard to the murder counts, the court stated correctly that the maximum sentence is life in prison. I would ask the court confirm not only is it life in prison, it is life in prison without the possibility of parole, and also that that's not only the maximum sentence, that's a sentence mandated under Michigan law.
Mr. Dalton, you understand that a conviction of murder carries the statutory, it's not discretion on the part of the court, statutory punishment of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. You understand that?
Yes.
The court has indicated for purposes of confirmation of the underlying facts supporting the guilty plea, I've agreed that Mr. Williams can in fact go through each count and the questions associated with them. Mr.
Your Honor, before I do so, I'd ask the court to make one clarification for the record and to make sure we confirm Mr. Dalton's understanding. With regard to the murder counts, the court stated correctly that the maximum sentence is life in prison. I would ask the court confirm not only is it life in prison, it is life in prison without the possibility of parole, and also that that's not only the maximum sentence, that's a sentence mandated under Michigan law.
You understand that?
Yes.
Are you satisfied then with regard to at least the statements of Mr. Dalton with regard to pleading guilty to each of the counts?
I am. Thank you, Your Honor, and I'm ready to proceed with the
Mr. Dalton, the rules require that not only do we accept what pleas that you entered, but also that there be a factual basis on the record that would support the entry of the plea. That is the questions that Mr. Williams is going to ask you now. So, okay? Mr. Williams.
Mr. Dalton, on February 20th of 2016, were you in the county of Kalamazoo in the state of Michigan?
Yes.
With regard to count one, while you were in Texas Township, did you cause the death of Mary Lou Nye by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Mary Lou Nye?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Mary Lou Nye premeditated, meaning that you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
And was the killing of Mary Lou Nye deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
With regard to count three, while in Texas Township on February 20th of 2016, did you cause the death of Mary Jo Nye by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Mary Jo Nye?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Mary Jo Nye premeditated, meaning that you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
Was the killing of Mary Jo Nye deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
On to count five. While in Texas Township on the 20th of February 2016, did you cause the death of Barbara Hawthorne by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Barbara Hawthorne?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Barbara Hawthorne premeditated, meaning that you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
Was the killing of Barbara Hawthorne deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
With regard to count seven, on February 20th of 2016, while in Texas Township, did you cause the death of Dorothy Brown by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Dorothy Brown?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Dorothy Brown premeditated, meaning that you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
Was the killing deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
Count nine. While in the city of Kalamazoo on February 20th of 2016, did you cause the death of Richard Smith by shooting him with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Richard Smith?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Richard Smith premeditated, meaning that you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
Was the killing of Richard Smith deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
With regard to count 11, on February 20th of 2016 in the city of Kalamazoo, did you cause the death of Tyler Smith by shooting him with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you intend to kill Tyler Smith?
Yes.
Was your intent to kill Tyler Smith premeditated, meaning you thought about it beforehand?
Yes.
Was this killing deliberate in that you had time to consider the pros and cons of the killing and that you chose your actions before you committed them?
Yes.
With regard to count 13, while in Texas Township, did you try to and in fact physically injure A.K., a minor child, by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
Did you have the ability to shoot her at that time? Did you have a loaded firearm and were able to shoot someone at the time that happened?
Yes.
By shooting Abigail Croft multiple times, was your intent to kill her?
Yes.
While in Richland Township, did you try to and in fact physically injure Tiana Carruthers by shooting her with a firearm?
Yes.
By shooting her with a firearm, did you demonstrate that that was an ability you had at the time?
Yes.
And by shooting Tiana Carruthers multiple times, was it your intent to kill her?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton, were all of the acts that you described, to your knowledge, felonies in the state of Michigan?
Yes, of course.
And were they all committed with a firearm?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions with regard to the factual basis.
Already satisfied that we have taken a plea that is freely, voluntarily, and understandingly given.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
And that the court, by entrance of these pleas and the allocution, complied with Michigan Court Rule 6.302.
The court has.
You have, Your Honor.
Court has.
Court is satisfied that the pleas that have been entered are knowingly, understandingly, voluntarily given. There are factual basis to support the entry of each of the pleas. Therefore, the court will accept the pleas as to the 15 counts that are listed. We will set this then for a sentencing hearing on Tuesday, February 5, 2019. It'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. Again, at 10 o'clock. At this point, based upon the entry of the plea, court will deny bond, and this matter will be processed at that time. Is there anything further?
No, sir. Thank you.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing, Judge.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know whether there will ever be a satisfactory answer as to why he did it. As we've gotten ready for this trial, we focused on what we need to prove in a courtroom in order to establish his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt as to each of these charges. The why question is one that haunts us. You know, everybody wants to know. Mr. Dalton will have an opportunity at allocution at sentencing, as will the victims and their families. I don't know if he will ever say why.
Jeff.
Anastasi Marco on behalf of Jason Dalton. I'd like to begin by focusing on the second interview. The second interview, in my mind, is the primary focus of the argument today. The court notes that my single particular focus is the application of the Edwards Rule. That's my main focus on the second argument. The Edwards Rule differs in kind from the other parts of Miranda because once someone invokes the right to an attorney, the police have an obligation to either make an attorney available or allow the defendant an opportunity to call the police. When we look at that second interview, he invokes his right to an attorney repeatedly, yet no attorney is ever provided for him. Bottom line, no attorney was ever provided. I think it's as simple as that.
Did he ever specifically, I know he was informed of his right at some point and said that he would prefer not to talk, right?
Well, there's two interviews.
Right.
So in the first interview, he was advised of his Miranda rights.
Right.
He kept saying, he pled the fifth, I want to remain silent, said that. Second interview, he actually said he wanted to speak to an attorney.
Okay.
Prior to any confession being made.
Didn't the trial court rule that he initiated the conversation following being advised of his rights?
The trial court ruled two things, and both I think are necessary in order for the statements to be admitted. The trial court ruled that he initiated the conversation, and the trial court ruled that he validly waived his Miranda rights subsequent to the initiation of the conversation when the officer came in during the second interview and reread him his Miranda rights. I dispute both of those factual findings. First, on the initiation part, let's be realistic here. He'd been interviewed for hours the day before, invoked his rights over 40 times, was ignored repeatedly. Bottom line, that happened. Second interview, same thing, invokes his rights. The officers never even give him an opportunity to breathe. They never give him an opportunity to speak to an attorney. and the officer remains in the room the entire time with him, says, yeah, we can talk a little bit, says, we'll share a Coke, we'll just talk a little bit. That's not initiation, because he never had an opportunity to be free and clear of the police, and he never had an opportunity to speak to an attorney. Regarding the waiver part, there also has to be a waiver, and it has to be an intelligent, knowing, and voluntary waiver. There's just no possibility you can find a valid waiver here when you look at the two interviews together or separately. He says, I want to speak to an attorney. They never give him an opportunity to do so. And immediately after he invokes his right to an attorney, they then reread his Miranda rights, and he supposedly waives them. Edwards is different in kind than the right to remain silent. It just is. And in this case, it was not scrupulously honored in any way.
Well, he seemed to have known enough to ask to remain silent, seems to have known enough to ask for an attorney, yet he continued to talk.
That I don't believe that's a fair characterization, because in the
Tell me what is fair.
What is fair is that in the first interview, he invoked his right to an attorney 42 times and he was ignored. That can't be diminished here. So nobody was going to listen to him. The police were not going to respect his rights. Second interview, he does the same thing. He invokes his rights both to remain silent and for an attorney, and still gets ignored. Isn't provided an attorney, isn't ever left alone. Not at all. I just think it's fundamentally unfair to expect that that's a valid waiver when they never respected any of them. They just didn't respect his assertion of his rights. So how could that be a valid waiver? Now regarding, I can move on to the, it's kind of tied to the same argument that, I've made the argument that the waiver in the second interview was not valid, in part because of the first interview, but there's also a credible argument that what happened in the first interview makes the second interview a fruit of the poisonous tree. I've made that argument. I want to make it clear that I don't think Oregon v. Elstead applies in any way to the facts of this case. This is somebody who repeatedly asserted his rights, continued to get them ignored again and again and again and again and again. I'm repeating it because it was that offensive when you read how many times he asserted it, and the police just chose to ignore it in that first interview, and they never gave him an opportunity to speak to an attorney.
With respect to the first interview, the trial court suppressed some of the statements, am I correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
It then ruled the public safety exception applied and would permit some of the statement to come in?
Yes.
Why is that incorrect?
Two reasons. First, under U.S. Supreme Court precedent regarding public safety exception, in those cases, those all occur prior to Miranda warnings being given and the invocation of Miranda rights. That's not the case here. In this case, the person, Mr. Dalton, had actually invoked his right to Miranda repeatedly prior to the so-called public safety questions being asked. So one distinction is, in the public safety exception cases of the U.S. Supreme Court, there was no assertion of Miranda. Miranda was never even read. That makes this legally and factually distinguishable. Once the rights are read and the person invokes them, there's no right to continue to ask questions under the public safety exception. Second difference is, this isn't the same type of factual scenario as the normal public safety exception case. The police didn't ask him those questions right away. Didn't, when they first get him, say, hey, where's the gun? Hey, is there an accomplice? That would exhibit some sort of immediate necessary need to protect the public or the police. What happened here instead is they held him in that room. They ignored his assertions of his Miranda rights. And then later on in the interview, I think it's probably 80 pages in, is when they first started asking about, hey, is it possible there's some other accomplice out there? Is there some other thing that we need to be afraid of? Those are the questions that the court found to be public safety exception questions. I take issue with that. I don't think there's any case out there that says the public safety exception allows the police to ask about extraneous facts other than an immediate danger to the public. And I don't believe those questions were. So I don't think the court was right in even admitting that statement. First, it was done after Miranda was given and after the assertion of Miranda rights. And secondly, it was done way too late in the proceedings for this to even qualify as an immediate necessary type of questioning. I'd like to reserve just a minute or two for rebuttal.
You certainly may.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, Your Honors. I please the court. Mark Olsenbeck, Kalamazoo County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan appellees in this matter. Before we talk about whether the judge was clearly erroneous in finding that the public safety exception existed and that the defendant validly waived his Miranda rights, let's ask why now? Why are we having an interlocutory appeal in this matter? There's been no showing that there'd be a substantial harm.
I said because the Supreme Court told us to.
Right. They told you to review it, but you don't have to grant them relief, is my point. You do have to review it, I agree.
You said hearing this case. We're here today. Yeah,
right.
All right.
There's been no showing that there's substantial harm that the defendant would suffer substantial harm by awaiting final judgment before taking an appeal. This is like any other case where a defendant gets an adverse ruling.
Counsel, are you aware of any case in Michigan or elsewhere where the public safety exception has been applied after Miranda warnings were given?
I am not aware that there's such a case, but it's a distinction in my belief without difference, because in both cases the defendant's statements are coming in despite his either inability to invoke his Miranda rights or his knowledge that those rights even exist. In either case, the defendant's statements are used against him as substantive evidence under that exception, whether he knows about the rights or not. So whether he's told about the rights and not allowed to invoke them, or he's never told about the rights and not allowed to invoke them, it's the same result. So I'd say, what's the difference?
Do you dispute what opposing counsel has said? I didn't count 42 times, but I counted close to 40 times in the first interview where he asked to remain silent, or to that effect. Is that correct?
I didn't count them either, but whether somebody whispers that they want to remain silent, shouts that they want to remain silent, or takes out an ad in the New York Times saying they want to remain silent, it's the same effect, right? He invoked his rights. There's no question about that.
Not just once, but numerous times.
That's right. He never did ask for an attorney in his first interview, so the fact that he wasn't given one in between, he wasn't arraigned, I think that's a non-issue. But there was the public safety exception, and the question started immediately. It may not be apparent from the record exactly that they started immediately, but the questions were, is the address on your license your current address? How's your family? When's the last time you spoke to your wife? Those are questions that the officer testified he asked in order to find out if there were other people dead, perhaps at defendant's own house, and people were dispatched, or police officers were dispatched there to check on their well-being. They tried to see if he would waive his Miranda rights. That would make it easier for them to ask whatever they wanted to ask. But when that was apparent he wasn't going to waive his right to remain silent, that's when they continued to ask about other shooting scenes.
Which in effect, basically was an indirect way of eliciting a confession of sorts, because he was basically assuming that he'd already committed the crimes and was therefore asking about, are there other people out there that we need to know about? So what difference does that make in terms of the Miranda warning?
Because the officer's subjective state of mind is not what's important, it's what their objective goal was.
Well, that was, it's clear what their objective goal was, to answer those questions, and by answering those questions, he was inherently confessing, irrespective of the fact that he had requested an attorney and had his Miranda rights asserted.
If there is a public safety issue, the police are allowed to ask those questions. Yeah. And when you look at cases like that, look at Quarles, that somebody was arrested in the presence of 4 police officers and handcuffed, and they were allowed to ask about the presence of the gun and use his statement against them.
But yet there's no law, there's no case ever in the state of Michigan that has employed that exception in cases where someone is already is in custody and been given their Miranda rights. So you are in effect asking us to make new case law here.
Well, I think you're bound by Atterbury, which is a similar case. It wasn't post-Miranda waiver. There was no rights given, but it's the same thing.
No, counsel, that is the distinction, don't you think?
Distinction.
The distinction is Miranda rights were given here.
That's correct.
Public safety exception, to my knowledge, has never been applied in a situation like this.
It excuses the need for the officers to give the prophylactic warnings, and excuses the
need to give Miranda warnings.
Right, and allows the statement to be used against them. That's the kind of critical part in Quarles and.
How far into the interview did that happen?
I'm sorry?
How far into the interview did that happen?
Once they kind of sat down, talked about the.
It wasn't the first thing on their mind, was it?
It was.
It wasn't the first.
They introduced themselves and then they asked that. I think a fair reading of the transcript shows that. Starting on page 8, when they started asking questions about where he lived, who he lived with, was his family okay? Those are the beginning of the statements. And then sprinkled throughout there are other questions about that, including is there other shooting scenes we don't know about, because we want to know if there's somebody lying in a ditch who's been shot that we won't be able to find to give the medical attention. So that's the public safety exception. And if you look at public safety, that is up here when the presence of a gun in a supermarket where there's 4 officers and defendant is in handcuffs is way down here. So clearly there's a public safety exception. The judge found that as a matter of fact. His finding was not clearly erroneous. And in order to, I think, grant relief, you'd have to find that factual finding was clearly erroneous.
Counsel,
but I don't
what happened
think
in Kalamazoo is tragic. There's no question about that. But we're dealing with the 5th and 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution and of the Michigan Constitution. You've got someone who has asked to remain silent. You've got someone who has asked for an attorney. Both ignored.
in the second interview, defendant says, I think I probably need to talk to an attorney. Officer Gorman finishes reading the statements, asks him if he wants to waive his rights and answer the question. He says no. So did he unambiguously ask for an attorney? No. Is that an indication of his right to an attorney? Perhaps.
What do you mean, perhaps?
He says, I think I probably need to talk to an attorney. That's not, hold the phone, time out, I want an attorney right now.
Is there some words that must be used to make it unequivocally clear that someone wants an attorney? Is there some phrase?
No, I think the officer took that as a request for an attorney and for an invocation of his Fifth Amendment rights and stopped talking to him about the case. They engaged in small talk, and the defendant changed his mind. And that's what the court found, as a matter of fact, that there was a reinitiation of the conversation about the case, and that the defendant then validly waived his Miranda by listening to the Miranda rights again and expressly waiving them.
Is that in and of itself possibly a Miranda violation? That course of conduct?
I don't believe so, because where a defendant reinitiates conversation on his own, he's allowed to change his mind and then waive Miranda rights. But I think in a way we're kind of tilting at windmills, because this is pre-trial. We don't know in what context the statements would be used at trial. Certainly the people don't have an abiding belief that the defendant phone application commanded him to commit these murders. So there's no possibility that we'd use those statements to prove the truth of the matter asserted in the statements. So hearing this now out of context, in the abstract, I think puts us, the appellees, at a disadvantage. Had we had the trial, you'd hear all the evidence. You'd see in what context the statements were used, if any, and then weigh that against the obvious other evidence of the defendant's guilt, and may find, if they were improperly admitted, that that error was harmless because there was substantial evidence of the guilt apart from these statements. This is a case that's not a whodunit. There are eyewitnesses to the murders. The murders are caught on videotape. The defendant was caught with the gun, and the shell casings from the murder scenes match the
So
weapon.
you don't need these statements?
May not need them. And they're duplicative because the defendant made substantially similar case statements to the forensic examiner as a part of the criminal responsibility examination. So even if the statements are suppressed, the jury may nevertheless hear them because the defendant filed a notice of insanity, that may become an issue in the trial, and the jury may hear these statements anyway, which is another reason why interlocutory appeal to suppress these statements is, I believe, unnecessary and unfair to us, because we don't know in what context those statements may be relevant, may be helpful, may be needed either by the defendant or by the people.
You do understand why we're here today?
Yes.
I mean,
But I think the court got it right initially in denying the application.
That doesn't matter.
And then the Supreme Court, of course, ordered you to hear it, but they didn't order you to grant relief. And I think relief is, I don't think the defendant is entitled to the interlocutory relief that he seeks, because Judge Lipsey's ruling was not clearly erroneous, and it's too soon. So I ask that the courts deny defendant's appeal, and I'd certainly be welcome any other questions the court may have.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
All right. Your response?
The argument that we don't know what these statements are going to be used for at trial is a red herring. Everyone knows the law. When the statements are suppressed, they cannot be introduced in the case in chief as substantive evidence. If the defendant takes a stand and then says something inconsistent with suppressed statements, of course they can be used to impeach. It's just a red herring. The question here is whether or not they can be introduced in the government's case in chief, and clearly they cannot be. I think the court nailed it on the head during the first interview. This isn't a public safety exception case. It's too late down the road when they first started asking those questions. And secondly, it was after he had invoked his right to remain silent repeatedly. Regarding the second interview, that second interview has to be understood in the context of the entire setting. He was ignored repeatedly during the first interview. He asked for his right to an attorney. He was never given his right to an attorney, regardless of whether or not he may have initiated by saying, hey, you want to talk a little bit. There still has to be.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Time-wise, how far along was the second interview? In terms of from when they had a first interview and then the second interview, what's that time frame?
They were within 12 hours, I believe. The way we computed it, it was about 11 hours. I'm not sure that's exactly right.
Well, the first interview ended around 4 in the morning, I think, and the second interview started around 2:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
Thank you.
So it's less than 12 hours is when that happened. And during that 12 hours, what I find particularly offensive is he was never given his right to an attorney. He was never allowed to speak to an attorney. And then when he asserted in his second interview, he just didn't care. They ignored it. And I don't believe that's fair. And I believe no matter what type of crime it is, everyone's entitled to their constitutional protections. He was not afforded those in this case, and I would ask the court to reverse the trial court's rulings.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you both. Well argued. Case is submitted. All right, we're going to take just a few seconds here and let our friends from the media